Hello, everybody. Welcome to the virtual event series. This is a new show that we're doing on the YouTube channel. This is the second episode, and we just had the mural event last week. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Angelo. I'm the Senior Interactive Media Specialist here at NETGEAR. I manage the YouTube channel. I manage also the Night Harper Gaming Twitch channel, and I also kind of have my hands across a lot of things on social. But before I talk about what we'll be talking about today, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guests for today. We have John and Derek. John, mind introducing yourself?
Hey there. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you are. I guess it'd be probably morning or afternoon for anybody. My name is John Henkel. I am the ProAV Product Marketing Manager here at NETGEAR. So I handle all of the marketing information for the ProAV segments. That includes broadcast, conference rooms, entertainment centers. We'll talk about some of that. I've got a bunch of years in the AV business. I started out in broadcasting, working for TV stations, and then worked into manufacturers of editing equipment. I was a video editor for a long time. So that's my perspective. Come in and try to help NETGEAR figure out exactly what products you guys need and how to market those and make sure we talk about them in the best way. So that's what we're here for today. Derek.
Ooh, hey Derek, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was muted. Hey everybody, my name is Derek Falberg, Senior Sales Engineer. I've been with NETGEAR for almost 13 years. All things networking. I will be monitoring the YouTube chat. So if you guys have any technical questions, I'm your technical resource. I'll be helping John out with any technical discussions and whatnot.
Awesome. I also wanted to shout out a few of you guys in the chat. So, M-Dog, what's up? You are a regular here from Tech Support Live, and as well as Vanessa Kitty. And I think we have some pretty cool stuff for you guys. We're going to speak a little bit technical. This one's going to be a little bit different than, let's say, kind of our home-oriented or consumer-oriented events. So today we're going to be talking broadcast, we're going to be talking Pro AV. So we're going to really dig into the details here, so I hope you guys are ready. But I wanted to also kind of just introduce this event. We have a pretty cool video that'll kind of describe these products that we'll be talking about for the next hour. So if you guys have any questions, if you guys are from the broadcast industry, please let us know. We want to keep this a fun, interactive show. And again, this is to pretty much substitute for some of these trade shows that we're not able to go to for this year and this summer. So I'm going to go ahead and roll this video, and then we'll go ahead and kind of start taking a deep dive into the products.
AV over IP is a fast-growing market, primarily because of the advantages offered over traditional AV matrix switching. With AV over IP, creating networks is faster and easier. Infrastructure can be shared, and costs are reduced. The future is here, and the message is loud and clear. Discover what NETGEAR M4300 switches can do for you. A NETGEAR AV over IP switch allows for the creating of fast, dynamic AV streaming and up to 10 gigabit per second throughput with ease. From conference room setups to corporate video walls, to cutting-edge surgery applications, to large-scale streaming displays, M4300 switches deliver amazing HDR video for any application. For day-to-day small installations, M4300s are totally pre-configured for zero-touch deployments. For larger installations, the configuration is greatly simplified with automatic AV multicast. And the NETGEAR Pro AV Engineering Services team is here to help design and install any type of AV over IP projects. It's that easy. No hassle, just high-quality visuals. Plus, with NETGEAR's 24/7 expert support and limited lifetime warranty for total peace of mind, you can trust that your video experience will deliver as expected. Learn more about the future of streaming high-quality video.
We're back. So we hope you guys enjoy that. We're going to be talking about AV broadcast and really taking a deep dive into, in my opinion, this is like the powerhouse of what we do here at NETGEAR Business. These are pretty beastly switches. But before we start talking about the product and really get a little technical here, we don't want to scare you guys off. So on the virtual event series, as I mentioned a little bit before that video, this is something to really kind of help get face-to-face with you guys a little bit more from an industry standpoint. So we've been sheltered in place for a few months now, and of course we're home. We're actually here powered by everything NETGEAR. I'm actually running wirelessly, John, you're over there actually a bunch of 100 miles away. Derek, I'm not sure you're in the Bay Area, but we're remote. And, we want to still make sure that we're out there listening to you guys, networking with you guys, and really kind of just make sure that, we're out there because this is for you guys in the chat. This is for us as an industry to make sure that we keep on moving forward and we keep, innovating and doing things that help you guys as customers. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, as the virtual event series, we want to essentially bring the trade show booth to you. So we're going to be doing this every Tuesday at 12 p.m. We're going to be running this show for about an hour. I guess I could I could tease the calendar because we actually just rolled it out this week. So today we're going to be talking broadcast. Next week, I believe we're talking about M4300 IT. So Derek, you'll be back here on the show, actually to kind of take a little bit more of a deep dive into M4300 and the M4500. And then we also have AirBridge, and also we have a mobile event for all you guys out there that have been really interested in our mobile hotspots. So we got a lot of really cool stuff in store for you for the virtual event series. And again, this is in addition to our weekly streams that we do on Twitch and every Friday for Tech Support Live. So
the good thing, Angela, real quick, is it's not just consumer stuff, it's business and consumer. So anybody who has any NETGEAR problems, questions, curiosities can pop onto these virtual events and get some info.
Exactly. We have a variety of content to offer you guys. So whether you are from the industry or maybe you just need kind of help with your extender, we're going to be here for you doing this live every single week on the NETGEAR YouTube channel. I think we're kind of ready to actually start talking about the product. So John, you got a lot of credibility here, and I think a lot of experience. So would you mind kind of introducing and the M4300, the M4500, and kind of how it fits into what we're calling the next professional broadcast solution?
Yeah, and we'll see in the video a little bit more what we're talking about. But really, these products were designed for ProAV applications, whether it's broadcast, whether it's again corporate video, things like that, digital signage. NETGEAR saw the switch and the move from normal hardwired products, point-to-point, with HD-based products or even HDMI cables, and found that things are moving toward IP. And while we're not going to get into all the ins and outs of AV over IP today, it's a different whole hour we could take up for that. NETGEAR found that we could make products that are more tuned for this marketplace. So and we'll talk about some of the specifics later on, but that's really where we start from, is our couple of model series, M4300 and M4500, just recently announced. That was actually February, so not so recent anymore. But we have switches that are, from half-width sizes, 8, 10, 16 ports, all the way up to the massive 100 gig M4500 switch. So we can move a lot of data, and as the signals keep getting higher resolutions, 4K video takes a lot of bandwidth, and all these different types of signals with better color space, higher frame rate, things like that. We have products that can now accommodate that when it's run over IP, and that's kind of the setup. So in the broadcast world, we should be specific as well. There are specific broadcast video standards, and we're not really talking about those. We're talking about just general AV over IP here. So it's, conference rooms throughout the facility, having video go to the GM's office, things like that. If that's going to be a part of your AV over IP strategy in a broadcast facility, that's where we're playing with our M43, M4500 switches. As the standards evolve and things like that, we are looking into those possibilities for carrying more broadcast signals through our switches. But right now, I just want to make sure it's clear before people start asking about, certain protocols, SMPTE 2110, blah, 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 that right now we're still talking normal AV over IP protocols.
Awesome.
So that's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. But, I think really when you kind of get down to it, it's a really versatile product for a lot of different projects, a lot of different use cases that I think we're going to go into a little bit into the demo video that we actually shot. So I think we're ready. So like last week, we have these demo reels. So again, this is really to kind of, I guess, virtualize, if that's a word, the trade show experience. So again, usually these events are a little bit more exclusive. You come to us at the booth, we do a demo for you, you ask your questions, we get in contact for you if you want, to work with us any further. So we're bringing that video right to you guys right now. So let's go do it.
Hello and welcome to the NETGEAR booth here at NAB 2020 in beautiful Las Vegas. Sorry, old habits. Well, welcome to our virtual event series. We are so glad you're able to join us. I'm John Henkel, the ProAV Product Marketing Manager here at NETGEAR, and we'd like to give you a tour of the fantastic networking solutions that NETGEAR offers for the broadcast market. NETGEAR is a recognized name in the consumer side, but has also been a quiet leader in business networking for many years, with products designed for AV over IP installations, as well as the most PoE switches by any manufacturer. So, what are we showing you here today? We have a great AV over IP setup, beginning with our M4300 and M4500 switches, which offer speeds of up to 100 gigabits per second. With the network switch at the heart of these setups, NETGEAR has many partners to choose from when it comes to encoders and decoders. So on the input side, for this setup, we have a camera connected to the IDK NETGEAR SDI encoder. Now this encoder takes the SDI signal and converts it to SDVoE IP-based signal and then sends it off to the NETGEAR switch. Next, we have a really cool DVI Gear HDMI encoder card that plugs directly in to our M4300 96X switch. Now a similar card is also available from ZV. This card allows you to forego a separate encoder box with power supply and cabling and simply plug your HDMI source directly into the network switch. This saves you installation time, complexity, and money, eliminating a possible point of failure too. And then rounding out the system, we have several digital signage players plugged into ZV encoders as well. Now for the decoder side of the system, we are simply running 4 ZV decoders for the video wall you see behind me. What makes this setup so special, you ask? Let's take a look. First of all, NETGEAR enables all of its switches for the broadcast market with the ability to handle multicast streams right out of the box. No other setup is required in most installations. This is accomplished by NETGEAR iGMP+, a unique feature not found on any other network switch. This alone saves you a lot of installation and troubleshooting time, allowing you to focus on getting up and running faster. Of course, these switches are powerhouses with the ability to handle a multitude of streams, from 1 gig streams up to the 10 gig streams we're using here. In addition to its whopping 100 gigabit bandwidth, the M4500 switch we're using as the core switch in this setup eliminates the need for a separate AV over IP control box by allowing you to run the controller software directly on the switch. Now that unique feature, available only from NETGEAR, saves you the hassle and expense of adding a separate controller, which reduces points of failure and also saves you time and money. Finally, what's not in view here is our ProAV engineering services team. This is a free service to anyone in the broadcast industry, providing both pre- and post-sale assistance with network design and help during and after installation. We have a team of AV-trained engineers around the world who respond to your request in a couple of hours. Since this team handles AV over IP projects all over, chances are they have seen something like your project before. They offer best practices to ensure your project is properly specified so that at least the network side of things comes off without a hitch. For more information for an upcoming project, please reach out to our ProAV Design Engineering Services team by sending an email to proavdesign@netgear.com. For more information on NETGEAR's ProAV products and unique capabilities, check out netgear.com/proav. Thank you very much for your time, and we're glad you stopped by.
We're back. Awesome. Well, hope you guys enjoy that. And actually, while that video was playing, I kind of realized that Derek over there, he's tuning in from the Central Valley. So we really are kind of everywhere here. And again, this is all powered by NETGEAR equipment. At least, hopefully you guys have some at your own homes. But really, yeah, we want to emphasize this is going to be a mix of home and business content. So again, if you guys are in the broadcast industry and want to get in touch with us, please let us know. Please drop a comment in the chat. M-Dog, I see you and Derek, you guys are trading comments back and forth.
Nice.
Awesome to see. We really will be kind of taking a deep dive into M4300 and the M4500 and really kind of AV over IP and kind of how it fits into all these different use cases. So John, thank you again for shooting that reel with us, just about a month ago. We hope you had fun.
It was scary, I'll tell you. But the first time out of my house.
Yeah.
So real quick, a little aside note too. I just moved away from the Bay Area right as the whole COVID stuff started happening. So I'm now 100% remote. I was going to be 100% remote anyway, and then COVID kind of accelerated all this. So when I was looking for houses, I had to make sure I got high-speed internet, number one. So I'm out in the trees up here in the part of the Sierra foothills. But to be able to do stuff like this, I had to make sure I got fat pipes. So far, knock on wood, it's worked out so well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're all suffering through this. Sometimes stuff cuts out. Hopefully, we'll all be have good connections here for this deal. But it was fun. It was good to go down and do a live demo. I think everybody's missing trade shows. And I talked to some integrators and partners and things, and the Infocom was a big AV show recently. NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, this crowd would all certainly know about, was supposed to be back in April. That was going to be our first time at NAB, and that got canceled. So that's kind of what drove this whole virtual event thing. Like, we need to, get out to our customers, to our partners, integrators, and end users as well. And I tried to make those just as you walk up to the booth, and it was, hi, welcome to NAB. Mm-hmm. So then we can expand on that, which is cool. And we have tech questions, we have marketing questions, we have general questions. So hopefully people will speak up and we can answer a lot of questions here. If not, we'll give you the whole spiel on what these products excel at and why we think they're so fun.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, and again, sneak preview. John will bring you back for another show. I believe that one's for ProAV. And then Derek, we have one more for IT for the M4300. But yeah, no, we got a lot of really good stuff for you guys.
And there's Derek's lovely connection.
Yeah.
We should point out, Derek, unfortunately, is only able to get satellite, just like a lot of people in the U.S., right? So he's still here with us. He can chat really well, but his video and audio is a little bit less than desirable sometimes, but that's the reality.
Yeah, that's the reality. Again, we're across the state. We're doing the best we can to bring a good show for you guys. But yeah, Derek, I don't know if there's anything you kind of wanted to lead off with just before we get into the M4500.
I think the 45.
No, I mean the M4500 is our. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say the M4500 validates our business class solution in that we now have a switch that can go up to 100 gig. Guys, there's not a lot of switching vendors out there that can back that kind of power. So I really like the fact that we can sit there and say, hey, we can play with the big boys too. The M4500 really emphasizes that. It really tells a really powerful story. So that's my two cents, John.
And you're right on. And for the price point, that's the other part. I'm kind of new to networking from the AV side, so I know all AV stuff inside and out. But for networking, I don't know network switches and the data class versus other classes. And you got to spend a lot of money to get a 100 gig switch typically from some of those other vendors. Yeah. And now NETGEAR has one for a heck of a lot less. So as you start building all these AV over IP streams around your plant, whether it's a school or a broadcast facility or a corporate environment, you may have a bunch of 1 gig streams, 10 gig streams, whatever. Right away, you're going to need something that's fast enough to be able to aggregate all those and then send them out throughout. So that's why we got the 100 gig switch. Mm-hmm. And that's the M45. We're going to show you a little video about.
Yeah, John, let me add a couple more thoughts on that. Somebody asked, I think it's Brett, asked how big of a AV over IP customer have we had so far? And as you know, working with Alex Pendleton, we've done 300 by 300 endpoints. And the only way that we could have done that is by releasing the M4500 switch and having that 100 gig backbone to be able to power all those devices. So really, in my opinion, the M4500 is all about ProAV and maybe even the data center, but that's not our sweet spot, as you know, ProAV or AV over IP is. And that's why we released that switch.
You got it. Perfect.
That's awesome. Derek, I just want to shout you out. M-Dog says you have dial-up. And Vanessa Kitty.
I've got satellite, man. It's pitiful.
I know your video just moved, like just now, at least on my side. So again, guys, we're doing this live. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Vanessa Kitty, I also wanted to shout you out. Really appreciate your live events such as these. Thank you. Yes, thank you for coming. And again, we got a lot more in store for you guys. But cool. I mean, if you guys are ready, we could roll one more clip. We got the M4500.
Yeah, let's roll the 4500 video.
I'll call it the beast mode switch. Again, I'm a little bit newer to the ProAV side, but I'll call it beast mode switch. Let's do it.
Perfect.
As networked AV systems become even larger, an all-new class of switches is needed. One that combines the configurability of a matrix switcher with the power and scalability of Ethernet to support hundreds of AV over IP endpoints. Introducing two new NETGEAR 100 gigabit Ethernet switches. The M4500 series switches are specifically engineered for AV over IP to enable deployments with hundreds of endpoints at a price point that is dramatically cheaper than comparable matrix switchers. These new switches come with NETGEAR IGMP Plus to greatly simplify system architectures with the same well-known Layer 2 techniques across the entire AV over IP network, removing the need for complicated Layer 3 PIM routing. This is the ideal switch for large deployments, requiring real-time, high-resolution video over IP with zero latency.
Something to look at. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we're just talking about getting Derek one of those mobile hotspots actually. So hopefully next time you're on the show, we'll get you in a little bit of a bigger screen. But no, hope you guys enjoyed it. That was M4500. Again, really, it's the beast mode switch.
Totally.
If there's a way you can kind of, let's just say for me personally, as the host here, who will be doing a couple shows for Mural, for NETGEAR, Night Harper Gaming, I'm kind of a jack of all trades kind of guy. But for anyone out there, even M-Dog, Vanessa Kitty, who maybe have been seeing this switch for the first time, can you do like an explain like M5 kind of, I guess, description or explanation of kind of what we're about to talk about? Because we're going to start pulling some of these visuals up. So just want to make sure we kind of start with the basics here.
Yeah, so we can go back to some basics of AV over IP, right, in general. Once you start putting audio channels and video signals and everything over IP, it's too much resolution, too much color space, everything else. So it's got to be, I think I have a slide later on about this. You really got to have some bandwidth to figure out how to get that stuff through. So it's got to be compressed. And we don't do those compressed algorithms and things like that. We don't make the endpoints. So endpoints are encoders and decoders. So you have a signal, you got your Apple TV box, easy. And you got to encode that. Typically you take HDMI out, plug it into your TV, no big deal. But here we're talking about buildings away or floors of different buildings. So you plug it into another box called an encoder. That takes that signal and converts it into IP, to internet-based protocol through whatever that box protocol manufacturer decides to make. So there's all different kinds of ways of getting that stuff into IP. And then that goes across the network and comes out the other end on a decoder. And then you have to do the same thing, convert that back to video or HDMI typically. So NETGEAR makes the middle stuff, right in the middle. We make the network switch that everything routes through for your network. And now there were other systems before AV over IP called HD-base-T. That's a proprietary signal, and that doesn't always interoperate between different vendors. And that would do the same thing, basically. Take video and audio, even 2S30, RS-232, or even infrared remote signals, and actually would put them on a network, and you could then snake them through your house somewhere to another destination in a different room and then decode that and display the video and control your TV from a different room. Kind of cool stuff.
Yeah.
But
So-
the problem with that is that was only point to point, one encoder to one decoder. The cool thing about AV over IP, or one of the cool things, is you can add that one encoded signal and distribute that, multicast, it's called. Multicast that out across a school, across a broadcast facility, business, conference rooms, things like that. So you can have the one video signal, audio, video control encoded and send it out across the network. And that's what really is the difference of AV over IP and what we're talking about here. And so that brings with it a whole bunch of cool things like scalability. You can get from one input to about 10, 20, 50, 100 different outputs if you wanted to. And that's where our switches come into play really well. Notice how I did that. Dovetail it right into our switches, see? Our switches can expand as well, and that's one of the neat things about it. We make all different sizes and shapes, different mounting mechanisms as well, and we have some really cool ones coming up as well that we can't quite talk about yet, but they're coming as well. So we're constantly innovating products to make sure they fit this AV over IP landscape.
Awesome. All right, good description.
Yeah, John. So, one of the more powerful features of the M4300 series is this concept of stacking. I'm sure it was mentioned or has been mentioned. You can go up to 8 switches in a stack with the M4300. And you think about that times 8 times 48 ports, and you talk about hundreds of ports that you can scale to for these encoders and decoders. Hey, John, one of our friends out there wants to know the difference between AV over IP and NDI, and you've been around the industry longer than I, so I don't know what NDI is, but do you think you could address that?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I just saw something yesterday on NDI as well. It's a very hot topic in the industry. So NDI is a protocol for transporting video and audio, but made by NewTek. NewTek started out a long time ago with something called a video toaster. What a great name. But they have developed this protocol to send audio video around. So it's one of many types of ways to encode the video and audio and send it around a plant or wherever. So it's not really, it is part of an AV over IP solution. It's one of the types of AV over IP. Easy enough. So there's, there's other slides that you can find presentations for videos on the YouTube channel probably that go through some of the stuff as well. There's a bunch of different types of AP, and they always all work together.
Oop. we kind of lost you there a little bit. Oh, did you?
My system resources.
You came back.
I'm back. It's my system resources. Zoom is sucking my system.
It's kind of like all of a sudden you just
Yeah, that was tough.
But you're back. Sorry.
I'm back. So a bunch of different types of AV over IP protocols, and you can find more information on that. But NDI is a specific one. It's limited to 1080p only, so that's one of the drawbacks of it versus others that can go up to 4K. But it is really portable, meaning doesn't require a ton of bandwidth. People are loving it. It's good quality. They all are. So it's one more of those.
Cool. Awesome.
Thanks, John.
Yeah. Cool. So I could actually pull up some of these visuals if you guys are kind of ready to go into it, or unless there's anything else.
That 96X is a good one to talk about.
Yeah. So tell us about what we got here.
Yeah. So the 96X is one of those models, one of our first ones, I think, too, that it's one of a few switches out there that are truly modular. So you have those different bays you can take and plug in different types of connections and different form factors. So a lot of our switches in general will give you fiber or copper, a regular Ethernet cable, or fiber. Somebody's talking about DAC cables and things like that. So you can extend the range of those inputs and outputs. So the 96 lets you do that in modules versus the entire switch has to be one or the other. That was a really cool thing. You can get 8 ports of this, 8 ports of that. And then the cool thing we have on the 96X is, as you can see in the graphic, are these HDMI cards that can be built right in. So a couple of different vendors have this, where you can plug in an HDMI source, a laptop, set-top box, Apple TV, right into the switch. So earlier when I was talking about you plug in that to an encoder, now you don't have to. Now you can plug that HDMI source directly into our switch, and those typically have 4 inputs on them. And that becomes a certain protocol that we're a founding member of a society, an organization called the Software Defined Video over Ethernet. It's a mouthful, I know, but you might hear SDVOE.
It's a mouthful.
So that's an organization of people formed to promote this particular type of codec from Semtech, a certain chip that everybody uses. It's interoperable. So once you plug that HDMI source into one of those cards on our switch, then you can take that network cable and distribute it wherever you need to. On the other end, you have a decoder, an SDVOE capable decoder, and convert that back to HDMI. But it saves you that extra box. So you don't have to have the extra encoder box on the one end. You have 4 built into one small chassis. So think of 4 encoders, 4 power supplies, all the heating and it produces, and you got to cool that and everything else. So if that source is near the switch in the rack, and often sources are all just rack mounted up there as well, plug it right into the HDMI input card for our switch. And that only works with our 96X switch. So from the company called ZV, Z-E-E-V-E, as you can see, and DVI gear, and I think there's more coming actually. Those are modules you can get to plug in a source directly in. So that's why this switch is really cool. You can build it as you need it. You can expand later on. You can not fill all the ports. You can see some kind of blank panels on there. So maybe you know that I want to buy this switch now, and 2 years from now, I'm going to expand and add more conference rooms, more classrooms, more whatever, depending on your application. And you can just buy a new module card from us and plug it right in. So it's a real cool modular switch.
Awesome.
Yeah, John, I think, this is Derek. The most powerful story about that switch is flexibility, in a word. And you've kind of hit on that. Just so you guys know, that the modules you can purchase are gigabit and 10 gig fiber module, 8-port. They're all 8-port except for the 40 gig. But so 8-port, 1 and 10 gig fiber, 8-port, actually multi-speed, 100 meg, 1 gig, 2.5 gig, 5 gig, and 10 gig copper. How about that? And then you can also have the PoE. And I mentioned you've got it's insane. It's ridiculous. Not only that, but you got your 40 gig that you can use for uplinks and HDMI to take the place of those encoders as you were talking. So it's just a super cool switch. I mean, what else can you say? And it's also one of our most powerful switches with a 1.92 terabit per second backlink.
Wow.
So it's a very popular switch. So we're very happy with it.
And those are good points, Derek. The multi-gig capability that people often overlook, because not everything is either 1 gig or 10 gig or something. Some are 2.5 gig. Mm-hmm. And we also provide the uplinks along the way. So as you talked about earlier, stacking of switches, maybe you buy an 8-port switch or a 16-port switch, and now you have more to add. Well, that's a problem in the old way of doing things, where you have a big matrix switcher where all the HDMI sources come into one and all the HDMI cables go out to somewhere else. If you want to add more, you got to basically replace that whole chassis sometimes. With a network switch from NETGEAR, because they're stackable, you buy a new switch. And then you connect those two together with a couple of uplink cables, make sure they're fast enough to go through there, yep, and keep stacking up as you need to. I know we have something on this too later on. We'll talk about some IGMP and other things like that. But let's see, I was going to go back to our sheet here and see what else we had for visuals to show some of this stuff. So I know we talked about AV over IP applications and how they're everywhere. We could take a look at that real quick.
Yep, pulled it up.
So I'm kind of back up here. We kind of got into some of the details, which is great, and that's what people are asking about. But really, we talk about AV over IP. It's everywhere, from concert venues. You know, we talked about broadcast facilities. It's conference rooms, educational facilities, command and control rooms. So really, when we talk about the general thing of ProAV, we talk about these are ProAV things. ProAV encompasses all this. And AV over IP in specific is starting to make its way into all these different applications. So for things like concerts, of course, you want to make sure there's no lag, like we're getting with our dial-up here, or our satellite and ION resource hogs of Zoom meetings and things. So that's got to be on a high-speed connection, fast Ethernet switch, things like that, between the back of the house where the speakers are and the actual cameras and things like that up the front of the house. So all of these applications have a little bit different need, and there's different codecs And we have different switches that are larger, smaller, depending on what the need is. Because you can put these switches on the back of a monitor, perhaps. You can put them, out by the music console in an auditorium or something like that, or everything back in a rack somewhere. So we have all different kind of form factors. But really, the thing about AV over IP is it's used everywhere. And that's why NETGEAR is paying attention to this marketplace, not just the broadcast, but all ProAV, because we realize it's being used everywhere. And you might as well have a good quality switch that's engineered for these applications, which is NETGEAR. When we talk about...
Hey, John, so... Sorry. Yeah, so we have a question here from Brett again. Doesn't the conversion to IP cause latency? And I think that's kind of where SDVoE comes in, is in order to reduce the latency, that's where 10 gigabit comes in. You basically have a bigger pipe, but maybe you could touch on that real quick, with your experience with latency and IP.
Definitely a good question. That leads into our next slide as well. So I had another slide ready, but you'll see a triangle sometimes of three things. You can have high bandwidth, low latency, or high quality video. So you talk about bandwidth, quality, and latency. Those are the three things, and you got to move things around to get that. So you can get low latency, but you're going to require more bandwidth, and maybe less compression then, which is good. So higher quality video. Something's got to give, in other words. If you want low bandwidth, if you got small pipes, let's say, then you're going to have higher latency and more compression. To be able to fit that video signal down to that pipe, you're going to have to do that. Let's take a look at the next slide, would you, Angelo? That little animation there, I think, of the faucet. It shows it pretty well. And you see that a lot of people are talking, there's a big debate in the industry about 1 gig versus 10 gig. There's people who make codecs that just require a simple kind of standard Ethernet network, 1G, 1 gig network, and those like SDVoE that we're a founding member of too, that believe in higher quality video for all. I mean, that's not their slogan, but it requires more bandwidth, but you get a much better signal, much lower latency, and near lossless compression. So you really can't tell that much of a difference there. So that's what the SDVoE does, is the 10 gig signals. There's other people who do 10 gig as well, and some do a variable compression as well. So there's all kinds of options out there. But when you talk about the bandwidth and the pipe and the networking for it, that's where we come into play. And you see, if you're pumping a whole bunch of video down that network, if you're only using the existing 1 gig infrastructure, you're going to run out of room. Something's got to give. So you can't do as many streams, or you can't do as high quality streams, and you got to reduce everything. If you're more modern business or modern education or facility, you're probably going to have a 10 gig network anyway. And then you can have enough bandwidth and have enough pipe to send all that stuff through there. So that's kind of where the 1G, 10G debate gets into. Even for 1 gig streams or 1 gig encoded streams, you got 10 of those, well, all of a sudden you're at 10G. So that's why you need a higher bandwidth switch to accommodate all that. So NETGEAR plays right in the middle of all these different types of systems. 1 gig streams, 10 gig streams, doesn't matter to us. We'll accept all those and move them through as best we can. And one of the things we do to do that is what we call IGMP. So IGMP, well, we don't call it. It's called IGMP. Is the Internet Group Mobile Protocol. Oh, shoot, I forgot it, Derek. What's the M for IGMP? A multicast protocol. I should know.
Multicast.
Yeah. So when you start doing multicast video for video AV over IP stuff, there's this term called IGMP, and there's a whole bunch of different settings to enable for that. NETGEAR has taken the hassle out of that by enabling that by default. So what we call NETGEAR IGMP Plus. So even from the command line, there's one command on the command line to turn all these sort of things on to make sure that we don't flood the network. And that's our next slide, if you would, Angelo. Mm-hmm. So the next slide talks about the hassles and what people have found in the past. And certainly in a broadcast facility, you're going to have some issues when you have other video going out on air, and you don't want to put that same kind of video on the network and flood the network. So you have to be careful with that. AV people might not always know all the IT settings to set for that. So NETGEAR has done that homework for you. And what we've done is through IGMP Plus is make sure, especially when you're stacking the switches up there, and you have a spine switch a little bit lower on the totem pole, if you will, and then up the case there, so you have your core switch. We're going to make sure that only those streams that are subscribed to in other words, that somebody wants to receive, are going to be sending across your network. So you have the transmitters, and if it's not being received, if you don't set things up right, all those streams that are being transmitted will be flooding the network. And it's happened a ton. Derek's heard this all the time, I'm sure, from customers complaining, calling in with problems. So with IGMB Plus, we just make sure that everything's turned on properly, that only those streams that need to get through to a receiver are turned on, and that's a big benefit. Derek, help me out here.
John, I found the easiest way to describe IGMP Plus is it's like an auto IGMP by NETGEAR. It's proprietary, but it basically takes all that complexity of IGMP and takes it out of your hands and makes it easier to install this equipment, especially for those folks that don't know how to configure or not familiar with IGMP and all that. It can be a little confusing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Angela, was it all making sense to you?
Yeah. No, of course, yeah. No, it does, and I think this is a really good thing to kind of even like show off like even the audience here, because I think this is something a little bit special. We've been doing these webinars, and I see them kind of come in and come out, but then really to the YouTube audience, again, I hope that this is something that you guys are, one, able to understand, but two, something you guys like, because we got a couple more events for you guys in the future. I'm trying my best though, as a jack of all trades.
That's my goal, is to make sure people who aren't used to this stuff can understand it. Because it's not that hard. And I'm the good proof point, because I came in, sure, a bunch of AV experience, but I didn't know networking. And I'm a perfect customer for us. It's like, I need to explain this stuff so I can understand it.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm trying to do. So that's why we like IGMP Plus. I need to make a graphic. It's like, I need to show people this is what it does. Okay, that makes sense. So one of the other cool things we had slated to talk about too, I know, was on the M4300 switch. I think I mentioned that in the video too. It has enough space on there and enough of a processor that you can actually run software on there, run some controller software. So it's not like you can sit there and run Photoshop on it or something like that. But you can, for a lot of these instances, you have all these encoders we talked about and decoders, but you have a controller also, a little box that's a controller box that's telling everybody where to go. In the case of like a video wall, a lobby video wall, where you got 6 or 9 displays and you have multiple windows of different content over that wall, something has to tell those streams what to put, what pixels on what display and how they overlap or what's cropped off, things like that. That's a controller. So all these systems in AV over IP have another box that's on the network that does the control part of it. So another power supply, another box that might fail sometimes, who knows, if it gets overheated. Well, what we've done with the 4500 switch first, I think for the 4300 we'll do as well, where you can run that software application on the switch. So like for these SDVOE systems, for sure, you can run that, you can plug your encoder right into that switch, and then you can have the M4500 running some software to control everything and not have to have a separate controller box. So that's one less thing to worry about. And that's something we're helping. The industry's come to us and said, hey, this is a real pain. We have to always have the separate controller box. Can't we run the software on your switch? It's not that much software to run, not much overhead. So we could put that on the M4500 switch and do that. And I think we had a slide just showing you that kind of basic setup. It just kind of shows you with the controller and how that's encoders and decoders and the controller is sitting there as well. And then magically, with our M4500 switch, you could put that right on the switch. So that gives you an idea also of kind of the basic layout of these sort of instances. You might have a video camera, set-top box, whatever, a laptop or something, all coming into the switch, being encoded with an encoder. And then you have decoders, and you can put that same piece of content on the video wall. You can put it up on a single display in your office. You can switch and route different signals to your display if you wanted to. You can change layouts on the video wall. All that stuff is done through that controller software or controller box.
And, just to kind of speak from my experience, again, as kind of like a relative newbie, I've actually played around with this before. We have our game room back at the office, back in the day when we used to go to the office. And I believe for a good amount of time, we actually set up the video wall. So you can kind of see to the right side of that graphic, we have, you kind of see that visualization of how that video gets decoded onto the wall. And what astounded me was actually how efficiently and how quickly you could pull video and output it to all these different sources and kind of just move them around. And, we were using it a lot for, the game room. So it's a gaming environment. We were trying to, during that, when we had it in the game, we were trying to demonstrate how you could use this for like esports facilities, or, if you're playing a tournament and you want to, put something on the main screen, but have all these different views. Let's say you're playing, I don't know, let's say Overwatch, right? This is just kind of something from kind of in my head, because this makes sense to me. Nice. You could have like the full like arena kind of, let's say you're playing a game, you could have the full arena view on the main screen, but then you could have everyone's individual, let's say, sources, which are coming from these gaming machines. It would output through the switch and go into the wall seamlessly. And that was like, okay, I get it. That's awesome. That's just one example of what you could do with the video wall and the switch.
Yep, that's perfect. And that's the whole thing, is be able to put multiple pieces of content up on a wall, whether you're in a classroom and you're looking at different students' computers. So that's one thing you can do as well. If a classroom setting has 20 students, probably now maybe more like 10, I guess, with proper distancing, each has a laptop or a computer, that output could all go to a encoder. Each one of those could go to an encoder. That could go to a network switch, and then the teacher could put that up on a video wall on the screen. It could be a video wall, it could be a single projector as well, with multiple things showing on it. So there's a lot of different ways this can be used. And the greatest thing about this with NETGEAR is, again, it's on a switch. We know networking, so you don't have to worry about all that as an AV person. And if you're an IT person, you can configure it as you need to. We don't lock anything down or prevent you from doing that stuff. So NETGEAR really has made sure that we give you all the controls you need, but if you don't need them, it works out of the box. You can pretty much open it up, and I verified this myself. There was a claim when I just started last October. Like, I need to check this out because I'm saying this to people. So take it out of the box, plug it in, take somebody's encoder, turn it on, plug it in, decoder, boom, it works. No configuring. And people love that about it. Out of the box functionality. That's pretty sweet.
That's awesome. And I just wanted to shout out one more thing from Vanessa Kitty. I don't know if you had your eye on the chat, but yeah, she specifically calls out a video wall for online classrooms here at home would be a wonderful feature as the teacher. And wow, imagine that. Even in like, I think we're getting into something a little bit new here, into the territory of like remote learning and e-learning. I think that we could start seeing a little bit more of these innovative applications and uses to one, either teach kids at home, or maybe even just kind of make learning more accessible for kids out there, who, have to adapt to these new times.
Yeah, it's hard. And we're all trying to figure out what works best and what we can do to help that situation for sure. I mean, luckily for NETGEAR, it's not just our M4300 or 4500 switches. It's also our mobile routers and our just general wireless products that are robust. And, like I'm using the RB Pro and things for my house. It's all those technologies together. And we've done some bundles, I think, coming up too, right? Some work from home bundles for employers to push out to their employees and things like that to help make that easier for everybody as well. So we're here to help all that. Yep.
That's awesome. I'm just going to go flip ahead to the next slide as well, because Definitely. This really is, one solution here. And you're not just going to... So, John, you mentioned you could set it up and essentially it's plug and play. But, I don't know if everyone, everyone's got different experience, and I know you're a smart guy, but, what else is out there for maybe first timers or maybe people who are a little bit newer to this kind of technology?
Yeah, I want to get Derek involved. I want to get Alex Pendleton, all these brains involved. So what NETGEAR did was set up a ProAV design engineering services team. With a simple email address, proavdesign@netgear.com. When you're starting out trying to figure out what system you're going to build for just the ProAV installations. We don't offer this for the home use. It's a lot simpler for that. But for the more complicated business installations, you can send us an email and we'll get started helping you figure out what's required for your system. Because we'll know more about all the different bandwidth requirements and the switch types and things, and make sure you have the uplinks configured correctly to make sure your system's going to work. So we'll work with you before the system, designing it to make sure it's designed correctly, and then of course bid the proper products as well. And then also during installation, we're there to help, and we're a phone call away, an email away, and certainly after installation as well if there's any problems that arise. The cool thing I like about this service is it's not just support, it's not just tech support. The product manager's on the list as well. So Laurent Mazia, the product manager for these switches, who's a brain and knows these things inside and out, has been dealing with this for years, can help as well. He can take feedback back to the engineers and make sure the products are improved and made better the next time if something didn't work out right. So it's a really good resource. And it's not just for US, it's not just for Europe, it's across the world. We have people, I think, is there a next slide? I can't remember now, that shows the worldwide.
This one might be it. I could flip to it, but let's see what happens.
Yeah,
oh, so we do. Boom.
There's a map.
There is one, yeah.
I remember this. I did this last night. So it's not just Derek here in the US. There's people spread across the world. So within a couple hours, max, we're going to get a response back to you. Derek can talk more about this and how that system's set up.
Yeah, so we've got basically when you email that ProAV alias, I've got my buddies and we got a SE. By the way, the sales engineers, it's all sales engineers like me that get this, and product line managers like you said, Laurent. But we got Buddy in UK. We're talking about France, Italy, Spain, all over Europe, China, Japan, and I think that's about, India. We also have my buddy in India. So yeah, actually, Vanessa, I went ahead and gave you and you guys my email address so you can contact me directly if you want. Vanessa seems very keen on this whole video wall idea. So, if she has any more questions, wants to get a little deeper dive into exactly how we can set this up, I can help out. So you got my contact there, guys. So feel free to use it.
Awesome. I know we're getting up on the hour all of a sudden, man. That was a quick hour.
It was quick, right? I hope you guys were having fun.
There's also, go ahead.
Time flies.
Yeah, we should point out, I just want to make sure before we forget, point out that the landing page has been updated in the last few months or so.
Let's pull that
and
up.
That's now worldwide as well. But netgear.com/ProAV, and that'll get you all the background info on these switches and more, and some of the applications, case studies. You get all kinds of stuff there. Mm-hmm. You can download resources, images, owners, users guides, white papers. We have lots of stuff there for you. So.
And to anyone out there who might even be watching this, let's say after the stream, they could get in contact with us, right?
Absolutely. No problem. I think if you want to get a hold of me, it's J Henkel, so that's JHENKEL @netgear.com.
Awesome. Cool. And I think I see here, I just noticed we got to contact the team kind of window here. So again, this is at netgear.com/ProAV, correct?
Yep, perfect. Definitely. And you'll see the ProAV design. So if you have a job coming up, then check out that design services. Just a regular question about something or whatever else, Derek or I can probably help point you in the right direction or help you out there. So yeah.
Awesome. And I know we're kind of drilling down to the last few minutes here. So before we start kind of wrapping things up, I also did want to shout out one more thing. So we don't have a specific promotion for the M4300 and M4500. Unfortunately, we can't really give you a discount code off our NETGEAR store. But if you visit our website today, anyone here who's in the chat, if you go to just www.netgear.com, and then you want to pick something out, even if it's something for, let's say, what we're talking about today on this show, or maybe a mural that you saw from the last show, you'll get 10% off. There should be a little window that pops up for a 10% off activation. And if you throw your email in there, you'll be able to get 10% off anything off our store. So that's the promotion we got for you guys today.
Awesome. We're happy to make you think hard and figure out some ways to make things better, Vanessa, and everybody. Yeah. Thanks so much for being here.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just want to shout you out. So she's looking for a new classroom setup. So that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish here on the show. Right. Typically we'd bring you out to our a little bit more exclusive, let's say, convention or trade show. But here we're open to everyone. So even if you are watching this after we're live, check it out. John, you just mentioned your email, but we also have ProAV design at netgear.com that you can see on the screen to my right. Cool. But yeah, we're down to essentially the last 2 minutes. Is there anything that you guys kind of want to brush over? Just kind of really drive it home before I do my whole like and subscribe kind of spiel?
I think we're good. I think I've talked for most of the hour myself, so you guys have heard my spiel.
No, it's great to have you on the show. So I want to thank you again. It's great to be able to kind of pick your brain. And this isn't it. For better or worse, you're gonna be on one of our I believe it's in the next couple of weeks, talking about ProAV.
Better.
And
It's for better. Don't worry.
for better. So, but we appreciate your time here. And then, sorry, I kind of mixed up the schedule a little bit. Next week will actually be about AirBridge. So, any of you guys who are new to the channel, we've been doing these live events, or new to the stream, we've been doing these live events every week. We actually did one on wireless access points. This is going to be Doug. He is our product line manager for essentially everything wireless. So he's going to be back on the show talking about AirBridge, which is essentially I believe it's a line of sight, essentially access points that you could set up around a site, so you could pretty much have a virtual wire going across these large venues. And today we're talking broadcast, ProAV, AV over IP, and then Derek, I believe in about 2 weeks we'll have you back on the show to talk about the IT side of things.
Sweet.
Awesome. Well,
Angelo, thanks so much, man. Nice
of
job.
course, we're up to the 1 o'clock mark, so here's my like and subscribe spiel. If you like this show, please send that like. You'll help us get to the front page of YouTube for all our subscribers out there. Again, this is something that we're doing for you guys, so as long as you guys are in the chat and you're enjoying the show, we're going to keep on doing this. Again, we'll be doing these every Tuesday at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. for an hour-long show for NETGEAR virtual events. But we also have a 2-hour show on Friday for Tech Support Live. So I did see a couple comments, who's looking for, a little bit more hands-on help. That is your virtual hotline to NETGEAR support experts. I'm on the show every other week, but I'll be your host essentially to help you guys out, get in line or get in touch with you guys for anyone who might be either looking for, hey, you're not sure which kind of router to buy, you don't know what extender to get, or maybe you have a dead spot that you're trying to fix. And we'll be able to help you out there every Friday, 12 to 2 p.m. Pacific time. But again, I want to thank you guys again for being such great guests on the show. And I think we'll see you guys next time.
All right. My pleasure. Take care, everybody.
Stay safe, everybody.
Take care. Be safe.